Hey there, this is John Henny. I am a voice teacher and the author of the Amazon bestseller Beginning Singing, and I have a link to a free PDF download of the book below. So do check that out. It shows you how your voice works and gives you exercises so you can start singing. All right, I just finished watching the documentary I Am Celine, and it is, if you've seen it, it's shattering. It's a tough watch, and I had to break it up into a few viewings because it's a bit overwhelming and it's really tragic. But I also am really left with a much deeper regard for the artist that Celine is and was. Celine is an incredibly unique being. Celine is not like the rest of us. And at the time when Celine was first getting really big, which is a number of years ago now, I had my own original project. I had an independent record deal. I was pretty much focused on indie rock. So it wasn't my style of music. And now, looking back, her talent is immense. And there are parts of this movie that just happen in passing where you really get a glimpse of who Celine is as a person and an artist. And the first thing that really struck me is when she said, "The singer doesn't serve the song." Now, this flies in the face of a lot of belief that the song is paramount. And there are those singers who do serve the song, and certainly the singer-songwriter genre. But Celine feels that the song serves the performance. And that's a shift. And it's a shift Celine makes because she is blessed with an instrument that is beyond world class. I mean, the disease that she's dealing with is a 1 in a million disease, but her voice is 1 in a billion. And she recognizes that. And you don't get a sense of an ego. It is a beautiful realization that she has been given something, and she realized this at a young age. And she really set her life in motion to become Celine Dion, not just for her own gratification and her own ego fulfillment and to fill some empty emotional hole through fame, but because she knew that she had this instrument that she could communicate with and bless people with. And her awareness of her voice is extraordinary. Some people, some artists struggle with their voice. They don't necessarily like the sound of their voice. This is actually more common than you might think. Celine fully realizes the power of her voice. She makes no excuses for realizing this. And at a very early age, she began to make sacrifices. And they weren't sacrifices to her, but they sure would be to the rest of us. And Celine had the stars align for her in a very unique way. You had a person who, number one, was given an incredible instrument. Then she has a musicality and a musical awareness that's profound. And this is what is really striking about her to me, is how Celine, if you watch her, how she listens to music, music hits her differently. I don't care how much you love music. I love music. I can see in Celine, it's hitting her on a different level. And her brain is predisposed to have a lot of available CPU for musical aptitude, for hearing pitch, for connecting, for hearing style, and also the emotion of music. She vibrates at a very high emotional level, almost constantly, to the point where in the beginning, when I would see Celine, I thought, is this kind of a put on, like an act? But no, it really is her. So she's an intensely musical and emotional being. So she has the gift, the instrument, she has the musicality. She had a family that recognized and encouraged this gift. She was then put on a professional track that built and aligned. And she got great people in her corner. Management, her future husband, producers, songwriters. People saw this. She was seen by the right people, and she had the right temperament for this, even at a young age. Look, being a voice teacher for many years, I was in the Los Angeles area for most of my career, and I worked with celebrities, but I worked also with a lot of child actors. And some of these child actors were pretty successful, and others you could tell were being pushed into this by parents, and the child just wasn't up to it. But the ones who were successful really were older souls, and they really could, for the most part. I know there are the tragedies of children who become successful who are pushed into it, but I saw really psychologically healthy children who really wanted this more than their parents. It was the child leading the parent. And you can see that in Celine. I mean, the final shot of the film is beautiful. And I won't spoil it if you haven't seen it, but it really goes to who she was, even at a young age. So everything aligned. And then the way that Celine is able to use this instrument is remarkable. I encourage you to take a Celine song and listen very deeply. I just did this with The Power of Love, which I think is a perfect song to do this with. First, listen for all the different intensities she uses. Breathiness, loud, rich, bright, dark. Even her belts, her big notes, have different qualities. She can use kind of thinner belts, so then she has these deep, rich belts that ring like a tenor. She's able to sing full stop and in an instant go soft and then back to a full roar. She has the ability to do complex vocal runs, but bucking the trend of the era, she never overdid them. Now, some singers, it was a fireworks show, and that is an artistic choice in and of itself. But Celine never did this for the sake of doing it. She really put at her highest level, right? So the singer doesn't serve the song serves the performance. And her performance served emotional communication. That's where she is all the time. And the fact that her emotional intelligence and the way she allows herself, she has no walls with her emotions. She feels everything deeply. She is in the moment, allowing emotions to come and go. That's what powers her voice. That's why she's a superstar. I will tell you, there are people with remarkable technical instruments, but she has that rare spark to realize that's not enough. Her musical ability, stunning. Her phrasing. Listen to the end of Beauty and the Beast. Peabo Bryson and Celine. The way they phrase with each other, how soft they are. The last Beauty and the Beast they sing is perfection. They are mirrors of each other. That is high musicality, musical intelligence. All of these stars align. And her discipline is second to none. She says early on, I've been all around the world. I haven't seen anything. Because Celine knew she had this gift and she took care of it. She wasn't racked by insecurity. She wasn't pulled away with drugs or a hard lifestyle. She managed to avoid all that. And she also says in passing, and some of you may think, oh, I'd love to be able to do that. But trust me, you don't. She talked about sleeping 12 hours a night. Now, that is too much sleep for the average person, and it's not necessarily healthy. But trust me, when Celine was laying in that bed at hour 9, 10, 11, somewhere in her brain, she wanted to get up and do things. She's an incredibly busy person, but she knew she served this gift, and this gift requires sleep. Sleep is where the body repairs itself. Sleep is essential for the voice. Celine, when she performed in Vegas, had a humidification system installed in the arena because she knew to take care of her voice. And you can tell Celine works and works her voice. She works incredibly hard now. She has an immense work ethic. Any one of these stars, if you take them away, you no longer have Celine Dion. You could have a great artist, great musicianship, but it took all of these coming together to give us Celine. And then, in the cruelest twist, the one dark star that took away everything. And it's tragic, of course, but for me, as a voice teacher, the pain, someone that connected to their voice, and they know before anyone else when something's wrong. And she speaks of that. But what do? Well, you go to get help. But the people you go to, no one will know of stiff person syndrome. No one. As a voice teacher, and I've worked with high-level voice doctors, I've worked with thousands of singers, I'd never heard of this before Celine. If Celine had come to me, I would have suspected at some point there was something neurological. But at first, I would have thought, okay, maybe there's a dysphonia. Maybe there is some physical thing happening with the vocal folds. It took so long for her to get this diagnosis and for her to know that it's happening because of this. What a relief. It's painful, it's tragic, but it's also a relief. Look, I've shared this before, but it was incredibly hard for me on my level, nowhere near hers. I began to experience vocal issues about 5-6 years ago. And I had lost a lot of weight. And I thought, okay, it was because of the weight loss. And that may have been part of it. But then the voice began to misbehave in a way that I couldn't understand, I couldn't control. And I was diagnosed with an essential vocal tremor, which is a neurological issue where my voice will do like a Katharine Hepburn and start to have these little spasms. And I've had to go to voice therapy. I work very hard to keep this at bay, but it's something I will always have, and it will continue to progress. In many ways, it's made me a better teacher because I have more tools now to help others, but it was painful for me. I was ashamed to tell people. I can't imagine what it was like for Celine. This is an insight to an extraordinary person. And when she shows us what her voice is like when she tries to belt, that's heartbreaking, but it's also brave. Your vocal cords have to come together in order to create sound waves. They buzz like a trumpet player's lips. And Celine had an extraordinary ability to really control these muscles so that she could get all these different colors and intensities out of her voice. When she sings softly, which she does in the film, you still hear the voice there. And she'll just do little riffs. She's not showing off. She just loves to sing. She needs to sing. But when she goes to put on the gas a little bit, lean into the voice, well, now you have to begin to increase the muscle activation. And the vocal cords, as they're opening and closing, they have to close longer. They stay closed longer in a more robust sound, in a belt. So there's more muscle being employed. Now, if you overuse this muscle, it starts squeezing and you have troubles. So what's happening with Celine is when she goes to engage the muscle, the stiff person syndrome kicks in. She's no longer in control. And so it over-compresses and it creates a strangled sound. It really is heartbreaking. And the scene for me, well, I think for most viewers, but where she goes into the studio and she's recording a new song and she is tentative, which is something she's never been, right? Celine is somebody going down a mountain on skis without fear and just in the moment and flying with her voice. Now she has to tiptoe and be very timid. And she's very unsatisfied with the results. She comes back in the next day. They're playing it for her. They're trying to encourage her. She's having none of it. She re-records it. And in the process, you see the magic return and the emotional expression. And she starts to go into the music and not worry about the voice. And the old Celine is coming back. But what that does is it stimulates her brain. This is where she lives. This is who she lives. And Celine, she talks about it. She has lived in this very heightened state as a performer, and she thrives there. And this kicks in an episode, and she begins to have a seizure. And it's frightening to watch. And her therapist who's with her is fantastic and talks her through it. But when he tells her, well, your brain got overstimulated, her realization of, so if I go there to that place, that's going to cause the attack, the seizures, is so sad. And she ends it on a hopeful note. And she is a fighter, but this disease is what it is. The therapist does say something, that her journey's not over. And I believe that as well, because a being as highly musically gifted and intuitive, there's more there for her to do. I don't know if it's going to be what she was, but it's all still here. It's all still here. She will find a new way to express it. I really do believe that. If you haven't seen it, it's on Amazon Prime Video. Please do check it out. Hey, if you want to know more about this voice stuff and voice science, check out my podcast, The Intelligent Vocalist. Please do click the like button. It helps people find the channel, and do subscribe, and we will talk soon. Take care.